Hi there, and welcome to the first Ask Manish with myself, Manish Patel. Hope you're all well. Ask Manish, it's all about you Formula One fans out there sending me your questions, your Formula One related questions. So if you do have any questions you want to get off your chest and you want them answered by me, you can send them to @baggies20 on Twitter, and I can offer my views and perspectives on the latest Formula One news, and also my views on questions you send to me. So let's start with this first question. So my thoughts on Lewis Hamilton's move to Mercedes, and is it the right decision? If I'm being brutally honest with you, I think Lewis Hamilton has made a questionable decision, to be honest with you. Based on how Mercedes have performed within their first 3 years in Formula One, they've been too inconsistent. They haven't won as many races as they would have liked, and they just haven't been able to challenge the big boys. They haven't been able to challenge the likes of Red Bull, Ferrari and McLaren on a regular basis. And although Nico Rosberg won his first Grand Prix, and Mercedes' first Grand Prix in China this year, and I remember Schumacher also finishing on the podium in Valencia, but apart from that, it hasn't been the best of years for Mercedes in 2012. And Lewis, I still can't understand why he's left McLaren, knowing that at McLaren he will be winning races. For me, I think he's guaranteed to win races at McLaren. Will he win race and championship at Mercedes? I'm not entirely sure. You've got to respect Hamilton's decision. It's happened now, but I just wonder whether Lewis will win championships at Mercedes, and I don't think that he can, based on what I've seen of Mercedes. I wish Lewis all the best at Mercedes, and I hope he does win races and championships at Mercedes. So for me personally, I think his move to Mercedes is the wrong one, and he would have been better off staying at McLaren. So this is a fantastic question sent by Jamie. Thanks very much, Jamie. Now that Hamilton is leaving McLaren, will Button have McLaren's full cooperation in the upgrades for his car due to Hamilton being the first driver? Again, a great question. I think Lewis, in 2010, when Jenson was first joining McLaren, we all expected Hamilton to clean the floor with Button and totally dominate Jenson. But Jenson has certainly performed admirably at McLaren. Last year he proved that he can beat Lewis, and Jenson ended up in the Drivers' Championship ahead of Hamilton. I think knowing next year now that Hamilton's going to be at Mercedes, I think there will be people thinking that Jenson will be the #1 driver at McLaren, and all the upgrades will suit Jenson's car. But with Sergio Perez coming to McLaren, I think Sergio will no doubt be aiming to outmuscle Jenson and start to become the #1 driver at McLaren. No doubt McLaren will say that both their drivers will be treated equally, but I'm sure Jenson, the car will be built around him, and Sergio Perez being #2. Again, a fantastic question from Dar. Thank you very much for this one. The driver Lewis Hamilton he'll bring the Mercedes to the front of the grid, and he can drive anything, unlike JB. Do you agree or disagree? Well, I think Mercedes, they have been fighting the midfield teams for the majority of the season. So they've been fighting with the Lotus, the Saubers, the Williams, the Force Indias, whereas really Mercedes should be challenging the big boys. I think the type of driver Lewis Hamilton is, his aggressive driving style, I think he will bring the Mercedes towards the front of the grid and challenge the big boys. But whether he can actually win races at Mercedes, I'm still not entirely convinced that he can do that. I think both Lewis and Jenson can go to any team and do a good job. I think Jenson would do a great job at Ferrari. I certainly think he would challenge Fernando Alonso, give him a run for his money for sure. I think same at Red Bull. I think Jenson would do a great job at Red Bull, and he would give Sebastian Vettel a hard time. I could certainly see Jenson doing a great job at the big teams. So I would disagree with you, Dov, about Jenson not being able to do a job at the big teams, because I think he can. He's proven at McLaren that he can do a good job, a good solid job, and if he can do it at McLaren, then there's no reason why Jenson can't deliver at Red Bull and Ferrari. So I disagree with you, Dov, on the fact that Jenson wouldn't be able to deliver at the big teams, but I can certainly see Lewis bringing the Mercedes car towards the front of the grid. So what's Michael Schumacher going to do? For me personally, I think he should retire for the second time. Schumacher's been really unlucky this year. He's been really unlucky with retirements, although he did cause a collision between himself and Eric Vergne at Singapore Grand Prix. And he also, if I remember correctly, he caused a collision between himself and Bruno Senna at the Spanish Grand Prix. Schumacher, it has been a difficult 2012 for him. I'm not entirely sure what he'd bring to a team if he was to get a drive next year. I know he's been linked with Sauber, but I think Sauber have got other options they can consider. For example, Esteban Gutierrez is their reserve driver, so he's got to be given a chance at some point. And Adrian Sutil as well. I think he proved to be a great partnership, a great partner I should say, for Kamui Kobayashi, a good teammate, and I think Sutil will do a great job. He proved at Force India, another midfield team, that he could do a good solid job. So I think Sutil would be a decent teammate for Kamui Kobayashi. So where does that leave Schumacher? I still think he should retire. Whether he wants to take an advisory role at a team, or whether he wants to help the youngsters who want to get into Formula 1, give them advice, he could do that. But apart from that, I'm not entirely sure what Schumacher could do in 2013, and I just think that he should retire, and that's just my honest view. So who do I think is the most talented driver in Formula 1, the most talented youngster in Formula 1? Sergio Perez has been absolutely phenomenal this season. He's definitely driven the wheels off the Sauber car. You look at what he's achieved this year. He's achieved 3 podium finishes. You look at his performance at Monza, qualified, I think it was 14-15. He was able to bring the car home in second. At Canada, he again qualified around the midfield places, and he was able to finish third. And the great thing about Sergio is that he's able to get the best out of strategy, and him alongside Jenson, I think that'll work well. I think both will be able to optimise their strategy, make their strategies work. And I wish Sergio all the best of luck at McLaren. He's a great driver, so much potential, and I certainly think he will win races at McLaren, so good luck to Sergio Perez. So I mentioned 2 of the youngsters as well. Charles Pic at Marussia, I think he's done a good job. He's certainly given his more experienced teammate Timo Glock a run for his money, and he's even beaten Glock in qualifying and in the race. So I think Pic has done a good job for Marussia. And also Daniel Ricciardo as well at Toro Rosso. I think he's done a decent job considering how poor the Toro Rosso car is. Toro Rosso should be challenging the midfield team, but I think Ricciardo's done what he's had to do. He's done a good job. He's been able to get the best out of Toro Rosso, and obviously he's been dubbed as the new Sebastian Vettel. So it'll be interesting to see Ricciardo, whether he does end up at Red Bull or another big team in the future. And the final question from Eilish Catherine. So if you could only attend one Grand Prix in the calendar, which would it be? So many great tracks, from Monza to Spa to Canada to Monaco. I've been to Silverstone on three occasions. I went to Silverstone this year despite the horrendous weather, but still had a great time. If I had to pick one circuit, it would have to be Spa. I'd love to go to Belgian Grand Prix. I'd love to see the cars go through Eau Rouge at high speeds, at incredible high speeds, and to see the cars go through Eau Rouge would be absolutely fantastic. So I'd love to go to Spa, and that would be the one track that I'd love to attend. So thank you for all your questions for this week's Ask Manish, and hopefully I'll be answering your questions in next week's Ask Manish. Don't forget you can send your questions to @Baggies20, and keep the good questions coming in. Cheerio.